you're first starting in training, there are a lot of things being thrown at you. Call, studying, just kind of getting to know radiology, because most of us don't get exposure when we're in medical school. So if we can, from the get-go, saying that political advocacy is something that is just as important as these other things that we're learning in radiology, it really plants the seeds. And then, as Dr. Wu, who's the founder of the Roarin, he talks about sipping or drinking the Kool-Aid. If you get to drinking or sipping the Kool-Aid early, you'll make advocacy a priority, and that's just only going to build as you go through residency, to fellowship, to practicing radiologist, and over time your passions and your advocacy efforts will just evolve, and so that you can hopefully, as an end result, kind of inspire others to sort of sip the Kool-Aid, and so this thing that we're trying to form is just building exponentially.
I think like anything, the earlier you get involved with something, you start to form habits and you keep doing it, and I think advocacy is one of those things where you really just need to get involved early, and the sooner you get involved, really, the more opportunities you'll have going forward. I started as a first-year radiology resident getting involved with the Rutherford Fellowship. I was sponsored by my state chapter in Georgia, and the contacts I made and the people I met have carried with me throughout my career thus far.
It's incredibly accessible now, I feel, to get involved in advocacy than ever before. So particularly with the Radiology Advocacy Network, each residency program has a respective program representative, and they really serve as the voice of the program, and they can apprise the program of calls to action, or to contact your elected official about voting on timely radiology legislation, to sort of keep everyone in the loop. We have a new social media campaign launched by the Roarin, where you can follow Roarin on Twitter, on Facebook, to be apprised and be kept in the loop all year round of regulatory and legislative issues at the state and national level. We have the ACR Engage platform, where you can engage with your colleagues about anything related to advocacy. So there's so many avenues in which to get involved. There really is no excuse at this point, because it's just incredibly accessible and easy for all of us to participate.
I would say start out locally at your own institution. We have a March Madness campaign, a Radtoberfest campaign. Kind of take the bull by the horns and be kind of the representative at your program that gets everyone else at your program involved, and kind of have that exponential effect where you're just one person, but you've now become 20 or 30 voices that can be heard in advocacy. You can apply for, like I said in the other question, the Rutherford Fellowship to get involved at a more national level, and then in between there's the state level. You can search, reach out to your chapters. Your state chapters, whatever state you're in, there's definitely an advocacy effort going on, and reach out to representatives on the RadPAC board or throughout the ACR.
Well, you can either be with us or you're going to be left in the dark, because the healthcare paradigm right now is shifting so much that if you don't change with us and you're not on the forefront, you're going to be left. And all practices and patients are really going to suffer if you aren't taking an active role to ensuring our radiological profession.
I would say that advocacy is our past and our present and our future. As we know that right now, healthcare, there's a lot of uncertainty behind the future of healthcare and behind reimbursements, and we are living in the age of declining reimbursements. My generation of radiologists are not going to see particularly the salaries that older radiologists are seeing. And in turn, the most important thing has to be with our patients. Is patient care going to suffer as a result of these changes in healthcare? So it's really important to be actively engaged in what's happening, not only in the state level, but at the federal level as well. Other things that are a threat at the moment are, for example, NIH funding. Well, NIH funding is incredibly crucial for us to further our research endeavors and radiology research to most effectively treat our patients and come up with cures. So now more than ever, I think there's this heightened awareness that advocacy is incredibly important, and that we all need to take an active stance, and not just 10% of radiology, but 100% of radiology.
I'd say think about your future. This medicine is changing. Advocacy is an important way to keep our profession, to optimize our patient outcomes. And to do that, we need to optimize the way that we can practice to have the best conditions for ourselves. There's a saying in medicine that to be a good doctor, you have to be able to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your patients. Well, advocacy is the same way. RadPAC takes care of us so that we can help our patients. So it's very important to get involved.
It's incredibly accessible now, I feel, to get involved in advocacy than ever before. So particularly with the Radiology Advocacy Network, each residency program has a respective program representative, and they really serve as the voice of the program, and they can apprise the program of calls to action or to contact your elected official about voting on timely radiology legislation to sort of keep everyone in the loop. We have a new social media campaign launched by the RAN where you can follow RAN on Twitter, on Facebook, to be apprised and be kept in the loop all year round of regulatory and legislative issues at the state and national level. We have the ACR Engage platform where you can engage with your colleagues about anything related to advocacy. So there's so many avenues in which to get involved. There really is no excuse at this point because it's just incredibly accessible and easy for all of us to participate.
I would say start out locally at your own institution. We have a March Madness campaign, a Radtoberfest campaign. Kind of take the bull by the horns and be kind of the representative at your program that gets everyone else at your program involved, and kind of have that exponential effect where you're just one person, but you've now become 20 or 30 voices that can be heard in advocacy. You can apply for, like I said in the other question, the Rutherford Fellowship to get involved at a more national level, and then in between there's the state level. You can look, search, reach out to your chapters. Your state chapters, whatever state you're in, there's definitely an advocacy effort going on. And reach out to representatives on the RadPAC board or throughout the ACR.
Well, it really depends whether you're academic or private practice. The answer there really varies. For academics, you really have to focus on what's happening nationally, what's going on, how will this impact their NIH grants and their research grants, how are they going to continue the programs that they already have. On the private practice level, it's completely different. We don't necessarily have to sell a lot of the national issues to them, but we really need to focus in on how it's going to affect them, how their patients, are they going to have access to coverage, are people going to lose insurance, are they going to be able to afford their co-pays, their deductibles. So you really need to bring it down to specifics on how it's going to impact their practice and their patients specifically.
Well, advocacy comes from the word voice, and I think one way to do this is to help people find their voice and help people use their voice. I think if you can get past the intimidation factor and you can tell people and have them believe that they can really use their voice in a successful way, I think that is tremendously successful. And helping them find their voice, well, that's easy. You just have to give them the sense that they can make a difference. Give the sense that what they say, what they think is important and can make a difference.
I think the first thing is to explain to the members of your practice what advocacy really means. What are you trying to do? And when we advocate, what we're really trying to do is influence some aspect of our society. And in our case, we influence our government and our laws. And I think understanding that basic fact starts the process. And then it really is critical to let your practice know that there's advocacy at many levels. Very much at a grassroots level, getting involved with the calls to action, responding to the calls to action, peer-to-peer contact and accountability to get your peers to respond to calls to action. And then there's several levels then of getting more involved. Ultimately, developing relationships with your members of Congress. That can be at the federal level, it can be at the state level. You can, with that, gain credibility over time. This is, as I'm sure other people have mentioned in these talks, this is a long-term process. Advocacy, this political process is a marathon, it is not a sprint. But over time you can develop relationships, you can gain credibility, and ultimately gain political capital, and with those we can get legislative wins. Part of the key aspect of explaining advocacy to your associates is to really show them the successes that we've had, and we've had numerous successes at state levels across the country as well as at the federal level. And to think that a small organization such as ours, only 35,000 members, can have such influence at the federal level is astounding to me. So those are the type of messages that you need to get across to your practice, to let them really know that this process does work, that we are trying to do things to help the practice of radiology, to help our patients, really to deliver the best care possible.
We have some giants from North Carolina, such as Bill Thorworth and Van Moore, and they've had this long tradition of being very active in advocacy. We've had a number of specific projects. Some of them are radiology specific, some of them are the House of Medicine. An example of the latter would be tort reform. So a few years ago, we worked with the Medical Society and other physicians to advocate for successfully tort reform in North Carolina. Radiologists benefit as we've seen a decrease in our premiums and a decrease in the number of cases. Same thing has been true of other specialties in medicine.
Well, I think in North Carolina we have always had the culture of advocacy. When I arrived in the state 25 years ago, we had already developed a very aggressive, very well developed advocacy approach. And that really, again, is working at a grassroots level, and B, advocating at a grass tops level, getting to know your legislators, developing relationships with them over time, and ultimately gaining political capital and gaining victory. So in North Carolina, it really is part of our culture. We have had numerous victories legislatively over the year, everything from medical malpractice legislation all the way to, in our world, certificate of need, where those laws have been in place for 35 plus years and continue to be in place.